Hey everyone, I am very excited to welcome you back from summer. So I would like to go over our crisis management plan so that everybody has a clear idea of what to do in the various situations. In the case of a fire, um, we will pull the fire alarm, make sure that we evacuate and call 911. This will be communicated through, of course, the fire alarm first, um, through staff radios to ensure that the building is cleared. And then we'll also have an emergency chat that everybody can check in and say whether or not all their students are present or if, a student was pulled for speech to make sure that every student is accounted for. And then for preventative, we'll make sure that there is an evacuation plan. And so there are little red binders that we give out that are in all of your boxes. And they have, like a class list and a green card or a red card that you can kind of like flip. If you're good, then you have your green side showing. And if you don't have all your students, then you'll have your red side showing. And then there will be evacuation maps in all of the rooms. And so it'll be very clear where you are and where you need to go. And then also if you're not in your room at the time of this emergency, then you will need to be sure to take your class to a safe place outside of the building. Um, and then another preventative way that we try to prevent fires is making sure that we have our inspections and then making sure that we participate in drills and making sure that those drills are not at the same time, every time we practice. And that way, like if it's lunchtime, it might be inconvenient, but making sure that we have a plan for every case that might come up. And then other individuals who are included in this is the campus officer, fire department, they'll come clear the building, and then administration, of course. I just want to touch base for the emergency chat. It's not to be used as like I wonder what's happening in this classroom, or this is solely just for me to provide updates. And if you have a emergency question or like a student that you're worried about, put that in a private text or private chat. These go to everyone on campus, so keep that in mind. The next one is an intruder. And so at this time, a lockdown command system will be initiated. This can be done from your classrooms, and we'll go over that later if the need is be, but we would rather that be communicated and go through us. We will secure the building, call the police, and ensure that we're monitoring the cameras so that we can see where this person is going, if they've left the building or who it is, all those things. And there will be an announcement for this, and so it'll be like it's an automated announcement. And then we will communicate as well through that emergency chat. So everything should be streamlined through there. That way nobody's, forgotten in a text, etc. Preventative is de-escalation or even just including our law enforcement officer that we have on campus. And then like if it's an incident that's, occurring or escalating in the office, making sure that we have our visitors sign in, whether it's they should be raptored if they're going into the campus. And then if they're just visiting the office, they should be signing in on our paper as well. And this is why we keep the doors locked at all times. If we have any students in our classes, we just like to stay one step ahead. And then other individuals, like I said, the police, office staff can help monitor the cameras if I'm sweeping the campus, etc. If there is a tornado or bad weather, then there will be a shelter command system initiated, and you'll be prompted to move to shelter locations, and the building will be swept as well to make sure that we have all of our students accounted for in those shelter areas. The emergency chat, again, is what we will use to communicate any information through that, and we make sure that we monitor weather apps. And the initial announcement will be over the intercom if available, and if not, then we will keep updates through that chat. Preventatives for the bad weather drills are, or preventatives are to have bad weather drills and then make sure that the shelter areas are labeled clearly, and then ensuring that we have shelter boxes in each classroom that is a shelter area or area that is made to move classes into. And so what's in those boxes are a bucket and toilet paper, batteries, snacks, flashlights. I think there's like one pillow. There's a list of stuff, and then we make sure that we go through every year and audit. I'll provide you with a list as well. That way you can just go through there and make sure that you have all the stuff. If you need anything, let us know. But yes, we keep those in the classrooms because, weather in Texas can be very unpredictable. Other individuals who are involved in this is the city of Alvin. They typically have a local emergency management that they communicate through. And we also have like district officials that communicate with us. And I will communicate with y'all. And then if there is a shooter on campus, I know this is a touchy subject and something that is uncomfortable that we don't like to talk about, especially with events in a surrounding district to ours. It hits pretty close to home, but it is something that we have to plan for and something that we have to be prepared for. And so this is something that I would really like to support y'all with and give you the feeling that we are well prepared. And so you can feel as much peace as you can during that time. So the first thing that will occur is a lockdown command system, and it'll be like lock lights out of sight, and it'll keep repeating it, and it's like, this is a lockdown. And so it'll just keep going. It is pretty loud, but we want to make sure that everybody hears it and is aware of what's occurring. And then there's not always, it might not always happen when you're in a classroom to lock down. And so the district stands by run, hide, and fight. And there are trainings for this that I can send you to if you would like to participate in that. And that is where a police officer goes through and discusses the benefits of this and explains what they all mean. So like running, if there's no other, you know, way that you can escape, you run or you hide. And then ensuring that in a classroom or outside the classroom, if you run into that person, ensuring that you are ready to fight. And so, yes, they may have a gun, but you can do things to, um, fluster them because they might not be ready for someone to fight back. So making sure that you are, if they come in your room, that, you put tables up at the door, or you have an extra lock, or um, throwing chairs, pencils, pens, scissors, anything that is possible. Um, and then, of course, I would call 911. That is one of, if we go into lockdown, if our lockdown button is pressed, 911 responds immediately. And so we would communicate this, like I said, through the command system. We could do a silent alarm system, staff emergency chat. Again, we don't want this cluttered. We want it to be very factual, not feeling like we have to remember that it's an emergency and our students need us to be present and not super focused or worried about a group chat. But it is one of the most efficient ways to communicate with everybody on the mass. And then preventative steps that have been taken are the see something, say something. So if someone sees something that is suspicious or anything like that, or if you hear something, if a student hears that their friend has a gun, then let's encourage them to say anything and not discourage students from sharing anything like that. Whether it's true or false, we'd rather take that and investigate it and ensure that everyone is safe. Mental health support, social emotional lessons, ensuring that we are, serving students with where they are with social media, that a lot of mental health issues have been on the rise. And so we want to make sure that we're trying to, support our students. And then we have anonymous tips that can be made through the district website, and then safety audits or security audits where our officers, they're sure to be around, walking in the hallways, checking the doors, etc. And then other individuals who will be involved are the police, admin, district, campus crisis team, and counselors. So we have a team on the campus, and each person has a role with what they do in every emergency. And they also get in-depth training to support that, and we all support each other with keeping the campus and the students safe. Another thing I want to touch on is that you may notice, like at our campuses, that we have a system that people have to be buzzed in order to even get into the campus. And so that's another security measure that's been taken. If there's any questions or any ways that I can support you and make you feel more comfortable with any of these issues or anything that comes to mind, because this is only 4 um, events that we have talked about, and there can be more. And so I would like to support you and support you if you have questions. What do I do if this happens or that happens? And so there's my email. I hope we have a great school year.